days, they are the stepping stone from your community club to then someone bigger. And I think that,
and there's also a chance for players who don't quite make it to fall back down to that level and maybe have a second chance later down the way, which I think does happen more now.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
I think the Super League do look at the top performing championship. I mean, look at Barrow. They've got Joe Bullock there. His big as Ginger, he used to be a winger. And he's going to be potentially back in the Super League next year, where he started as a kid but never quite made the grade. And stuff like that. There's opportunities there still by playing at that level, by getting to be in one of those lesser sides, but play well against one of those higher performing sides, and you'll get noticed.
Yeah, and I think you sort of QRT is your classic example of that. I know that he's a sort of foreigner, in the sport, so there's a little bit of, I think that carries a little bit of a kudos. People think there's a little bit something special about you if you're coming from the Southern Hemisphere. But if you think about how long he's been knocking around in that tier below.
Oh yeah, he was player of the championship in 2010 or something.
So he's now got, and then there's obviously your people like sort of Chris Hill and Alex Worms in those Keegan Hurst, those sorts of players who sort of toyed around in that lower leagues and have come through. So I think there is something there, but actually there's an opportunity for players to get it. But it's interesting. I was listening to an interview with is it Mark Sawyer, who's the owner or is the chairman of Dewsbury, and he was saying
they don't want Super League.
No, he said their ambition is to be the best team outside of Super League. Which sort of recognises that there is just no way there could be a Super League team. Earning turning over the millions of pounds required for that. But actually, what's wrong with that? And it's a bit like Batley. Batley to me are one of those great sides who are one of the better teams or have been one of the better teams in the league below Super League. It's a nice place to go to. It's got that sort of quirky slope to it. Always a good occasion, but they always tend to do quite well. And what's wrong with that?
That slope's got nothing on St James.
Absolutely.
We all know that. But no, you're right. Apart from, I kind of see the other side of that argument as well, is if we're putting some of our limited central funding resources into clubs that's sole ambition is to finish basically fifth in the championship as it stands at the moment. That's their best ambition, or maybe finish fourth and have a little bit of a glory tour. Is that really going to help move the game forward? That's the second. That's that's the other point to it. And I see both sides of it. I mean, we'll move on to the League One results where it was round 14, and we'll hit on a crisis club straight away. That kind of puts a question into how money gets used and how resources are getting spent and allocated, and who's in charge of what and who knows what's going on. And it's not the West Wales Raiders who lost this game by 6 points to 66. It was their victors, Whitehaven, who the real question marks are around. We were talking a bit off air, weren't we? Not sure what's going on with this deal now. Who's been telling the truth? Who's been telling what? And basically, the fans are being taken for mugs, putting all this money in for this apparent impossible pipe dream of investors saving the club forevermore with a 3-year plan.
Yeah, and this to me is one of those ones where speckers are being sort of touched up to sort of effectively. It seems like potentially chuck the money down the drain, but I just think clubs have got to be realistic, and a club like Whitehaven. When you go up there, and people talk about, Cumbrian Super League, but, Whitehaven and Workington are very close. But Barrow's a long, long way away from that.
And so would Penrith be if that was where we were to put a Super League side.
And even the population is quite small there. You're not talking about millions of people living up there. But
no, the density of population, it's like the most spread out population apart from, I think, other than like the north end of Scotland,
right? Yeah, okay,
in the whole of UK, in Cumbria, and also down in Cornwall. I suppose it's a similar kind of makeup, but Whitehaven have a fantastic role in rugby league because the community game's really strong up there. But to me they should be the sorts of clubs who should be sort of be one of those clubs just at Super League, but who are a top club, really well run. What happens is that, kids who play... have all the age group sides and that sort of thing.
People who play rugby league in Cumbria, come through their community club, play for Whitehaven, then get spotted by one of the top clubs and go on, and you celebrate the fact that actually a kid from Kells or Egremont or whatever has come through the ranks, been picked up by Whitehaven or Worthington, and is now playing for Leeds or Wigan or St Helens or something.
I think that links to one of what I think is one of the failures of the Cumbrian Academy, which is all but gone. It seems it doesn't seem like they're regularly competing now the same. But one of the failures of it is it's kind of taken that responsibility away from the clubs, but it also means that those players get spotted by the big clubs sooner, taken away from the game there sooner, because no one's really, because they haven't got that pathway through. Whitehaven and Workington aren't themselves spending on the youth to bring them through. I mean, they might bring through the odd local player, but they bring them fully formed 20-odd-year-olds, and they give them a crack for a year or so, if their work schedules can allow and that sort of stuff. And the community game thrives at the national conference level, but the semi-pro game is floundering because of it. It's certainly in that region.
But I think that's because those clubs have got an unrealistic expectation. I think there's, I'm not really one for saying people should know their place, but I think that you've just got to be realistic. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a great lower league club who who everybody looks at and says, what a well-run club. There's some real quality players who come, and I think they should take pride in developing players that then go on to a higher level, who play for the big clubs. And I think you would then get the playback, and I think you get much more players coming through thinking, well, actually, there isn't any problem with me signing for Whitehaven, because I know Whitehaven is a stepping stone if I'm good enough to one of the really big clubs. Whereas now they don't, which then means that you rob them from the junior clubs. They're then traipsing backwards and forwards to sort of Lancashire or Yorkshire. Then they lose interest, and then they're gone, aren't they?
No, I mean, I know we've got a few kids in our academy at Wigan that make that journey, although we have tried to send them back up on dual reg deals and that sort of stuff. Loan deals to Cumbria as well, to kind of help that transition, but see how that goes on. The rest of the results from League 1 round 14 then: London Scholars 28, North Wales 36, Workington 60, Hemel 12, Newcastle 46, Coventry 12. They are two of those clubs that probably fit into that second category of the good lower league clubs, the way things are going at the moment. Bradford 56, Doncaster 14, Keighley 14, York 46, Hunslet 16, Oldham 12 in the game of the week in League 1, and that really was the game that was the most hotly contested in the table as well for the standings. So Bradford on 26 points lead York on 24. Oldham stay third, but are joined now on 20 points by Hunslet, who beat them at the weekend. So very exciting there. Workington hold 5th place on 18. Keighley, Newcastle, Whitehaven and Doncaster, free fall in Doncaster, all have 16 points. North Wales have 11. Then come London, Coventry, Hemel and West Wales. Women's Super League, there were two results. Leeds won 30 points to 10 over Bradford. Featherstone hosted the Wigan Warriors, which they will do next week in the Challenge Cup as well, but they hope for a better result next week, as they lost 31 points to 20 to Wigan with a fine late showing from the Warriors, and my favourite Becky Greenfield grabbing a hat-trick. State of Origin Game 2. We're now going to cut in a little bit of an interview I had with Sydney-based Richard Wilkinson to talk about this game, which ended New South Wales 18, Queensland 14, where New South Wales win the series after taking an unassailable 2-0 lead. So to talk about a thrilling Origin second game of 2018, we've got a man down under in Sydney wearing the New South Wales colours true to his heart. It's Rich Wilkinson. Welcome along, SLP again.
Cheers, mate. Absolutely my pleasure as always.
We've just watched, to pull the curtain back for everyone, we're talking pretty much 5 minutes after the final whistle. We've just watched an absolute thriller. It was full of great excitement, great tries. Nail-biting finish for the Blues, but it's a series win for the first time since 2014, and for the second time only in 15 years or so. It feels like forever.
Yeah.
So
something like that. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Oh, just obviously before we went live, mate, we had a quick chat about how I'm feeling, and it's really surreal. It's great to have got the win, and it's such a buzz. Origin, it's such a big thing over here, and obviously Queensland and New South Wales goes on hiatus in terms of your work colleagues. So you get on great as a bunch of people, but certainly the Queenslanders and the New South Welshmen come to the fort, and for 6 weeks you fucking hate each other, and it's like daggers across the lunchroom, and the people you go for a drink with after work, you're just like, fuck you. And it's just like, it's brilliant. It is great. It's all in best spirit.
I can tell that you're going to take your bragging right seriously.
No. Well, when the Queenslanders, when they go in tomorrow, some of our bins have blue lids, and that means you can put your waste in them. So the unconfidential waste. So generally, what happens is that the Queenslanders' desk will get surrounded by bins with blue lids. That's generally the first part of call, and then after that, the banter just flies, and they're still obviously dining out on a long legacy and a long dynasty. But to bring it back to the game, as far as it goes, it's unbelievable. And like I've said to you before, it's like Saints playing Wigan every single year, or Leeds playing Wigan every single year, or OKR playing Hull every single year, and just coming out on the wrong side of the result year after year after year, then jagging one. It's Groundhog Day with your closest rival. It's like an endless punishment if you're not coming on the right side of the result. And this has been said before, but I generally feel confident that the tide has turned somewhat, and I think there's going to be a much more even swell. And I'm certainly not saying Queensland aren't going to win more series, because you can see again tonight the points are just so close, that there's so much talent.
There's
so many match
relatively
winners.
Young talent on both sides of the field as well, wasn't there? I mean, the Queensland old guard is moving out, and Billy Slater came back, and Billy Slater's probably a good point to start on, because the first 20 minutes of the game he was the best player on the pitch, and
he was, yeah.
And he was the lone remaining member of that old sort of Queensland dynasty in there, and this could be his last. It's going to be his last Origin series. This maybe could be his last Origin game. He might move out now the series is done, but he might want to say goodbye in Queensland. But yeah, the game started pretty much. Everything was going Queensland's way, running through Billy Slater. Munster was playing well as well, and Dane Gagai had a very, very marginal no-try call in the 8th minute of the game, which was
fine margins, mate. It's a game of inches, centimetres or millimetres. I think in a game of seconds in that moment.
Yeah, but off the back of that, Queensland kept the pressure on. They forced a goal line drop out on 11 minutes, and then the first try for Valentine Holmes on the 12th minute. Holmes missed his own, converting his own try, but thrilling stuff up to that stage. And it was Billy Slater who was instrumental both sides of the field, wasn't it? Getting those two opportunities, and one of them that was taken.
It's just movement off the ball out the back, just popping up, making that the defence question for a second, and being that extra man, and just being able to free men. From game 1 to game 2, he made them look like the best team, opposed to a team that were just always kind of been second best. And I think the biggest mistake that any Origin team make, whether it's New South Wales or Queensland, is if you turn up to game 2 with the same intensity as game 1. That's not enough, and I think New South Wales managed to go again this time, but Queensland were just gears better than the first game, and they'd come ready to play, and Slater just that experience and that time on the ball. And you got to remember, he hadn't played for weeks.
No, in downtime, like when there was scrums being set and stuff, he looked like he was labouring, didn't he? But as soon as the whistle was blown and the ball was in play, he switched on completely. And
for a guy in his mid-30s, you can say what you want about the Slater or Melbourne or whatever, but there's no questioning. He's a grub, but
you can question their integrity, but not their quality and ability.
But that's a part of the game, and you've got to get your head around this. And it's took me a long time to get my head around it with Cameron Smith, that he is the biggest grub in the game, but he's the best at it, and he's also the smartest at doing it, but he's also the best at all the other facets of the game. and when he's not playing the game, he's an absolute gentleman. So it's hard to hate them when you see them as people, but it's because they're ultimate competitors, and they're just unbelievably skilled and talented, but they're also good at the niggle side of the game, and you got to respect it. And Slater just from game 1 to game 2 he changed them. But you touched on some of the other players like Munster and Hunt, and obviously Gagai is going to be around for a long time, and a bunch of other players.
We'll get to Gagai in a second, because the first time that I thought the Blues even looked like doing anything at all in this game was when Addo-Carr made that break and threw that loose offload inside, but he'd stepped into touch just before. That was on the 18th minute. That set up the field position, though, for Gagai's try in the first half in the 19th minute. So that's Gaga's record, 9 in 9. That took him to. I mean, it's a phenomenal try scoring record in Origin. He was the player of the series last year.
That's right.
He's been fantastic every time I've seen him play in a maroon jersey. So that, with Holmes converting from the other touchline, took it to 10-0 at that stage after 20 minutes. And I kind of thought